Hey guys, how are you? This is Wendy Kim of Your Dream Realize Coaching, helping burned out 9 to 5ers turn their passion into their dream business and life. And so today, what I'm going to be talking about, just to get you guys maybe not as wrapped up in the election. I know it's really hard today not to be thinking about election stuff. But hopefully, this will encourage and empower you guys. 5 ways to start your business today while still doing your 9 to 5. And that is something in general that I pretty much recommend to 99.9% of my clients, that you don't just leave your 9 to 5 and start your business, because it can take a while for sure to build up your clientele, to figure out what your what your niche and your focus are. And so, hey Tammy, how are you? Good to see you. So the first thing I wanted to suggest is figuring out what your business is going to be. Duh. It's obviously kind of hard to start a business unless you know what your business is going to be about. And so I wanted to just provide you with some questions and some ways that can help you kind of dig down and figure out what kind of business you would start. So, one of the first questions I ask clients is, what are you passionate about? What do you love? What lights you up? And what is something that you talk about all the time, irregardless of whether or not people pay you for it? And as I've said before, for me, that's money and business. And so it's kind of obvious why I'm doing both financial and business coaching. So that's one way to figure things out. Another way is asking yourself, what do people tend to ask you for help in? Is it technical things? Is it problem solving? Like, I have a really good friend, and she's kind of like an ideas person. So a lot of people will go to her for ideas with parenting. That would be a very natural fit for her. And so figuring out the areas that you love, but that you're also good at. And when I was starting out, another business person friend helped me, and he's like, you don't have to be the best person ever in this field. You have to be better than most of the people or other people who you're working with. So number one, again, figuring out what product or service you're going to provide to people and what your strengths are. The second thing I would say is actually going and figuring out who your audience is. And I say go. So this part is actually really challenging, I think, for most people, especially starting off, figuring out who your target audience is, because we don't want to rule out anyone because they could potentially be a client. But that is actually one of the biggest mistakes that early on entrepreneurs make. And that was definitely one of my first mistakes. Like, I was way too broad in terms of who I was targeting. And the term targeting in and of itself implies that you need to whittle down who you're going to speak to, who you're going to focus on. And so something that's really helped me, and this kind of ties to the first point of what your business is going to be, is what is an area that you've struggled with that you've overcome in? So this is something that really inspires people. I mean, of course, there are people who are really good in certain areas, but Most people really are looking to people who have taken a weakness and turned it into a strength. So in my case, obviously, I was really bad with money. And that was something I was able to turn around. Obviously, people who have struggled with their weight, everyone wants to know, how did you do it? How were you able to turn it around? So that would be kind of a clue into who you could talk to. And another thing would be, who are people like you who maybe 5 years ago were doing what you were doing and could benefit from the service or message that you have to offer. And going to meetups, going to networking groups, and just talking to these people and finding out, okay, what are they struggling with? And that will help you to start to figure out who your audience is. So the third thing I want to talk about is actually using the resources you have right now in your 9 to 5 to build up your business. And prior to me deciding I wanted to start my business, I was all about doing the bare minimum. I was like, what do I need to do the least amount of work so the boss doesn't get on my back and I don't get a bad performance evaluation? Not a great way to live. But when I decided I'm going to actually start my own business, I decided, you know what? I'm going to take what I can learn from this, and I'm going to be the best employee I can be. And so what I did is number 3, looked at opportunities for training. And I was at a company that offered tons of online or personal training where I could take classes on building up my presentation skills, trainings on how to deal with different personality types, leadership training. And these trainings helped me not only as an employee, but they still help me as an entrepreneur, as a businesswoman today. So definitely take advantage of any types of trainings you can. That would be my number 3. Number 4, I would say, is to treat your coworkers like your clients. Because one of the most significant and important skills you will need when you have your own business is how to take care of your clients. And your coworkers, people whom you interact with on a daily basis, if you treat them like clients, if you treat their needs and their interests as super important to you, that will help you to build a muscle that you will need for when you do have your own business. So people feel so disempowered. They feel like, oh, I can't leave my company, therefore I can't start my business. And that's not the case. You can start your business today while you're still at your 9 to 5 or 8 to 6 or 9 to 10, whatever hours you are working. And number 5 would be to actually start calling yourself an entrepreneur. That, I think, was something super scary for me to do at first. But so I actually had to tell myself that to myself. But as I started going to these meetups and networking groups, I was still working my corporate job, but I started to call myself an entrepreneur. And it's amazing when you actually say that, and when you say that out loud to other people, you actually start living into that. And every interaction that you have, whether it's outside of work or at work, you start to see yourself as an entrepreneur. And that is huge, because honestly, the biggest challenge in being an entrepreneur, I think, is believing in yourself. So those are the 5 things I talked about. Just recapping again, figuring out what your business is going to be, figuring out who your audience is, and going to talk and meet with these people, taking as many trainings as you could possibly take where you are, treating your coworkers like your clients, and starting to call yourself an entrepreneur and living into that truth. And thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm going to be doing my next Facebook Live, and it's going to be how starting my own business saved me from my money problems. So look forward to getting your comments, questions, and talking to you soon. Love you. Bye.